Frontier, the world's fastest supercomputer located at Oak Ridge National Laboratory in the United States, has a peak performance of 1.1 quintillion operations per second. It consumes a whopping 21 megawatts of power and occupies 7,300 square feet of space, which is the size of 2 basketball courts, and also weighs 8,000 tons. This machine is the pinnacle of human technology. But what if I told you that there is a system capable of performing its double, that is 2.5 quintillion real-world physical operations per second, and that too with an energy consumption of just 100 watts? Sounds unbelievable, right? Our very own body is one such system. Our bodies containing 50 trillion cells, each performing 50,000 biochemical reactions per second in a highly coordinated, wave-like and coherent manner, is far more efficient than any machine ever built. Trillions of cells work in perfect unison, in perfect synchronization to make life possible. Even with modern medical advancements, we still don't fully understand how the human body operates in such a hyper-efficient manner. Our cells seem to work with the precision of a quantum computer, a system so mind-blowing that it has led researchers to question everything they thought they knew about life itself. The Human Genome Project, a groundbreaking initiative to understand human biology, was launched in 1990, aimed to map all the 3 billion base pairs in the human DNA. The expectation was that once we have decoded our genome, we would have the answers to nearly every question about human health, behavior, and disease. But that did not happen. The sequence of DNA was found to be utterly insufficient. David Baltimore, Nobel Prize-winning geneticist, said that we do not gain our complexity over worms and plants by just using more genes. In fact, humans have around 20,000 to 25,000 protein coding genes, which is just a few more than the common fruit fly. Wait, what? How could organisms as simple as worms have nearly as many genes as humans, who possess vastly greater cognitive abilities and complex biological systems? Something else had to be going on. This led researchers to look beyond genes, towards the emerging field of epigenetics. Epigenetics means above the genes, or beyond the genes. It tells us how the genetic blueprint can be modified by external environmental signals. Epigenetics is the study of how factors outside our body can turn genes on or off. It helps us explain why identical twins having the same genetic code can have completely different traits. One of the most famous epigenetic study is the overcalyx study, conducted in 1995. Researchers studied the natives living in the overcalyx region of Sweden. They found evidence of single-generational genetic changes. Parents who experience famine can pass famine-compensating physiological traits to their children. Before this study, it was believed impossible to modify DNA in a single generation. Previously, it was also believed that only 1.5 to 2% of genes in our DNA are active, while the rest are permanently dormant. Well, looking at the results of the overcalyx study, this previous assumption is falsified. In fact, there are many studies that show that genetic modification can happen in a very short period of time. According to Ornish et al. Study, changes in prostate gene, by following an intensive nutrition and lifestyle regimen for 3 months, 30 men with prostate cancer upregulated 40 cancer-killing genes and downregulated 453 cancer-causing genes. Fascinating, isn't it? Major genetic modifications happening in just 3 months. Another study by Ron et al. Named 6 months exercise intervention, in which 23 overweight men altered 7,000 genes, blew away the mind of researchers. 7,000 is almost 30% of all the genes found in the human body. More recently, in 2014, Vickers et al. Conducted research on how prenatal exposure to a high-fat diet led to epigenetic changes in the offspring, affecting their metabolism and increasing their risk to obesity and diabetes. These studies show that genes and DNA are not so special after all. Environmental, behavioral, mental and emotional changes can turn on thousands of genes once considered permanently dormant. Twins who begin their lives with identical portions of their DNA activated can end their lives with completely different portions of their DNA activated. That is to say, destiny is not hard-coded in our DNA. Epigenetics only scratches the surface of life's complexity. To truly understand the deeper mysteries of life, we need to understand quantum effects on life's workings. Quantum biology studies the effect of non-local quantum effects over living systems. This field of knowledge is still relatively young, and it's already revealing surprising insights into how life works at the subatomic level. A prime example of life's quantum character is the process of photosynthesis inside plants. For decades, scientists have wondered how plants are able to convert sunlight into energy with near 100% efficiency. In 2007, researchers discovered that this efficiency could only be explained by quantum coherence, a phenomenon where different particles can get quantum entangled to behave as a single unified superentity. Thousands of chlorophyll molecules, when transferring the sun's energy, vibrate in perfect synchronization to one another. They all align themselves into exactly the same phase and frequency, forming a liquid crystal. A liquid crystal is a highly ordered arrangement of molecules, just like solid crystals, yet they possess the flexibility of a liquid. The mind-bending coherence of chlorophyll molecules converts them into a perfect biological superconductor, enabling hyper-efficient energy transfer. This phenomenon, which is also called resonant energy transfer, should never happen in natural conditions, according to conventional science, and yet it happens, and that too for an indefinite period of time. While cutting-edge science can only quantum entangle a few molecules for a fraction of a second, herein nature has cohered millions of molecules for an indefinite period of time. Without this miracle of nature, life as we know it will never had come into existence in the first place. Unexplainable mind codes working in the dark, making life possible. These effects are completely mind-like because quantum fields work through the mind-like complex mathematical domain. All these quantum effects are manifesting from the plant's complex domain holographic template. As you can see from this figure, the holographic template of the plant containing all its functions and structure already exist in the complex mind-like domain even before the plant gets born. This holographic template is fine-tuned by the superconsciousness to facilitate the continuity of life. The continuance of life and consciousness is the prime directive of the superconscious self, because in the ultimate duality between existence and void, the superconscious represents the existence part. When the eye of consciousness accesses the plant's holographic template, it directs reality to behave in such a way so as to facilitate the propagation of life, which will then appear to our observational apparatus as entanglement and coherence. No matter what name we give to this phenomenon, these are just mind codes, making life and consciousness go on without break. Biology is filled with these weird quantum effects. Quantum tunneling, wherein particles can pass through insurmountable barriers, has been suggested to play a key role in enzyme reactions, allowing these biological molecules to work far more quickly than expected. Studies have suggested that quantum processes play a key role in the human brain. In 2014, researchers at the University of Surrey discovered that protons in DNA could tunnel or insta-switch between different molecular states, potentially introducing mutations that contribute to evolution. Even human vision may have quantum underpinnings. In 2016, Tinsley et al. Published a research paper showing that the human eye could detect a single photon of light, which is a quantum object. This without a doubt proves that our biological systems are fine-tuned to operate at the quantum level. In fact, 99% of our biology is made up of quantum layers. Each and every organ's functioning can be traced down to the smallest scales of reality. Maybe quantum effects are necessary for life to emerge in the first place, for consciousness to come into picture. I will show you how consciousness can emerge from a quantum process only. This figure represents the field of view of a non-living, non-quantum object. Its field of view, that is its perception, is directly proportional to the angle theta. Its field of view can be increased by increasing the value of theta. When angle theta is equal to 360 degrees, then the entire external reality comes under the vision of the object, but it will still be unable to look back at itself. This is to be noted. The non-quantum entity is unable to self-reflect. For a non-quantum entity, both the angle theta and the field of view are real numbers. That is, they reside in this physical reality. Its perception cannot leave the real number plane, but this is quite different for a conscious or quantum object. For them, the field of view can leave this physical reality, or real number plane into the complex mathematical domain which is orthogonal to our reality. For quantum objects, both the field of view and the angle theta are complex numbers. They can take any complex values because there is always a non-zero probability of any value existing. The non-zero probability is due to the fact that the quantum wave functions have no real endpoint. They exist everywhere. So for a quantum entity, its field of view can look back at itself by moving through the complex domain. It is capable of self-reflection. From this self-reflection, consciousness emerges. In fact, self-reflection is consciousness. That's how life comes into existence. This is the deepest mystery. In 1908, Mei Wan Ho published her pioneering research on how biological tissues, particularly cell membranes, act as liquid crystals. In her research, Ho et al., Organisms as Polyphasic Liquid Crystals, she pioneered a novel interference color imaging technique to non-invasively detect liquid crystalline domains in living organisms. Her team was amazed to find liquid crystals everywhere, in every living tissue. They also found that all these liquid crystalline domains are phase synchronized to each other. This is fascinating because it looks like all the cells in the living animal or plant are behaving as a single quantum entity. They are all connected in the mind-like complex domain. The cell membranes of all 50 trillion cells in the adult human body behave 100% as liquid crystals. The lollipop-shaped cell membrane molecules work in perfect synchronization with each other. They are phase-matched to such a degree that not even a single molecule can pass through them. They form an impenetrable barrier. Whenever need arises to open up the cell membrane, the entire orientation of the crystalline lattice changes, which create openings to take stuff in. These crucial functions of the cell membrane are completely dependent on quantum coherence. Further, research by Frasia et al., named abiotic ligation of DNA, proves that DNA too behaves as a liquid crystal. Under specific conditions, DNA strands can self-organize into a highly ordered liquid crystalline state, which is crucial for repair and replication. The ability of the DNA to act as a liquid crystal hints at a deeper layer of order and efficiency, a quantum layer. Another little known but fascinating aspect of biology is the discovery of biophotons, that is, the weak light emissions produced by living cells. In other words, the auric glow. This phenomenon was first observed in the 1920s by the Russian embryologist Alexander Gurevich, but it wasn't until the 1970s that Fritz Albert Popp, a German biophysicist, took this discovery further. Popp discovered that biophoton emissions are not random light emissions. Instead, they are highly coherent, much like the light from a laser. He theorized a groundbreaking idea that cells use these coherent light beams to transmit and receive signals. These signals may be intercellular or they may go outside the body also. This discovery brings extrasensory perception or ESP into the realm of possibility. Why it's always like whenever science deems something impossible, science itself in the future proves its possibility. Every impossibility gets destroyed eventually. It's as if everything is possible, or maybe everything is an illusion. Talking of illusions, you can check this video tagged above to realize how the entire reality is a well-crafted illusion. Studies by Voykov in 2003 suggested that biophotons play an important role in regulating the body's metabolism and homeostasis. Cohen et al. 2016 showed that biophoton emissions can be influenced by external electromagnetic fields and even mental states. This fascinating connection between biology and light adds yet another layer to the complex puzzle of life and opens up the door for further research into how our bodies use electromagnetic energy, not just to survive, but perhaps to thrive in ways we have yet to fully comprehend. The power of belief has always fascinated scientists. How can a simple thought or belief affect physical health? The placebo effect, where a patient experiences real improvements in health despite receiving a fake treatment, has been well documented for decades. In 1968, Luparello and Bleecker, in their research paper, Influences of Suggestion, documented 40 asthma sufferers. These patients were given nothing but water vapor, but were told that those inhalers contained an irritant. Now, even though they were given just water vapor, nearly 50% of the test group experienced asthmatic symptoms, that is, restriction of their air pathways. 30% of them suffered full asthmatic attacks. Afterwards, when these subjects were again given water vapor but were told that these contained medicines, all recovered. This proves that belief can create real physiological effects in the human body, an example of mind over matter. In 1976, a research was published in the World Journal of Surgery, wherein 411 cancer patients were given only a saline drip, but were suggested that it contained chemotherapy drugs. 30% of the patients lost all their hair, even though it was only their belief that made them lose their hair. Looking at the above results, you are bound to wonder what exactly is the extent of this mind over matter effects of beliefs on our body. Is the entire life and all its events, past, present and future, just a mental projection coming out from our consciousness? It must be so. Otherwise, how will you explain these extreme examples of mind over matter? There are literally thousands of examples of mental codes running life and reality. In 2002, Mosley et al., in their study titled Controlled Trial of Arthroscopic Surgery, showed how patients receiving sham or placebo surgeries got cured of pre-existing medical problems. Focus on the word physical, as in real, that is mind-like placebo effect manifesting itself as real physical cures. Going on even further, we will now show extremely weird cases of mind over matter to its furthest limits. There is a medical condition called multiple personality disorder, MPD, where individuals exhibit drastic changes in behavior when switching between personalities. But it goes beyond psychological changes. Some cases have shown that when a patient shifts from one personality to another, their body undergoes profound physical changes as well. Dr. Philip M. Koons, a leading expert in MPD, have documented 50 studies on MPD sufferers using advanced equipments like EEG, galvanic skin response, electromyography, regional cerebral blood flow monitoring, voice spectral analysis, ECG, etc. In his studies, he found clear evidence that with the shift in personality, physiological changes occur within seconds or minutes. Different personalities inside the same person has different voice prints, which should be impossible because person-specific genes determine the physical structures that give rise to a particular voice print. Other impossible switches shown by MPD sufferers in Dr. Philip M. Koons' study are as follows. Number 1. Allergies, which should be genetically determined and are unique to a single body, switches with the switch in personality. Number 2. Long-term diseases switch on and off with a personality switch. One personality can be diabetic while the other is not. Diabetes takes years to develop, but herein the switch happens in mere seconds. Mind-blowing, isn't it? Number 3. Switch between right and left-handedness, which is also usually impossible. One MPD sufferer moved through 10 different personalities in less than an hour. The fascinating thing is that the eyes of each of these personalities had significantly different visual characteristics. Even the iris color changes, which should be impossible. Rashes, moles, scars, and other skin conditions emerge with personalities. In a mind-blowing case, one MPD sufferer manifested needle tracks on his arms only when the drug addict personality emerges, even though no drugs were injected. These cases show the ultimate limits of mind over matter. With a switch in personality, the entire belief system of a person changes, leading to switch in physical features. It shows that at the deep layers, reality and physicality is just an illusion crafted by our mind and beliefs. We are just in the beginning stages of understanding life. We must understand that life is much more than the sum of its parts. C.F. Hebb, author of one of the textbooks of psychology, said that if it were for the conventional biochemical model of the human body, it would be impossible for the pianist to play a rapid piece of music. The amount of efficiency required to coordinate 50,000 biochemical events in 50 trillion cells per second can never be explained by conventional medical science. This is only possible if all the cells of our body are in partial quantum entanglement, connected non-locally, behaving as a single entity and facilitating instantaneous signal conduction. Some even say that the controlling information of life comes from outside our universe, from a mind-like holographic energy template. The DNA's control signals to trigger certain genes on and off comes from this holographic template. Liquid crystalline structures within our tissues phase in and out of quantum coherence, allowing the information from our holographic template to initiate and coordinate life processes. Life comes as an outcome of these quantum processes, creating an entangled unified whole which we identify as ourselves. Our consciousness has the power to modify all bodily functions, as seen earlier with the placebo effect and multiple personality disorder patients. Consciousness is the ultimate power. Our entire reality is one single coherent quantum entity with no real separation, only the illusion of separation. This illusion will also be dissolved eventually as we go deeper into reality's mind code.